So let us start with today's class, and today we are going to discuss about networking with Oracle, in which we are going to understand how an application server is going to connect to Oracle database. Usually in real time, whatever the application server that we consider, or what we can call it as an application server is any code that was written in any of the language where that code was deployed. So that server we usually call it as application server. So usually if you write the code in .NET or PHP, something like some language like that, then you will be deploying that in Windows Server. So on Windows Server, how this application code is going to connect to the database in order to fetch the data or in order to manipulate the data, etc. So today we are going to see that connectivity part, and so basically when this application server is connecting to the database server, usually we instead of calling it as application server, for Oracle, from Oracle point of view, we call it as a client machine. So this client machine need to connect to our database server. So let us go and see what are all the prerequisites are needed in order to configure these things. So first one, on the database server, we need to have database up and running. So that is the first mandatory prerequisite. And the next one is listener should be up and running. So these are the two prerequisites that we have from the database server side or database side. Okay, and then coming to the application server side, here we need to install Oracle client software. So just like Oracle database software, we have Oracle client software also. So we need to install that software. And here we need to configure something called tnsnames.aura file. So on database server side, if these two are the prerequisites that we need to meet, on the client side or on the application server side, we require these two to be done. And how this listener would be running. So listener would be running based on a file called listener.aura. So this is the main file which is going to have the content like what is the listener name and various other things. So we will be looking into that. All of you people can able to see my screen, because Funny says he can't able to see my screen. Let me stop and share it. So I just stopped and again started sharing my screen. So let me know, Funny, like if you are still facing the issue. Okay, fine. So let us start with the things. Here I have this Windows server, and assume this Windows server is a application server. So where I have deployed some Java code, let us say. So on this application server where the Java code was implemented, or where the Java code was deployed, so first we are going to install Oracle client software. Then we will be configuring tnsnames.aura file. So let us go and do that first. So the installation of Oracle client software will be similar to Oracle installation on Windows. For example, on this server in D drive under this folder soft, I have the software 10.01 client Windows 32. So I have this particular software. What I need to do is I need to click on extract here. So when you try to extract this file, you would be getting a folder by the name client, in which we will be having a setup file. So let us wait till this extract completes. So now the extract got completed. When you double click on the folder, you would be seeing a setup file. So double clicking on that setup file will start your client installation. Almost all the screens, everything will be similar to 10G installation itself. So clicking on next. So here you will be having four options. The first one is instant client, second one is the administrator, third one is runtime, and fourth one is custom. So instant client, frankly, you won't get any software installed, because you can see the size also. It is just 498 KB. But when you look at administrator and runtime, those will have you know the required software or required files to go for the other part, that is TNS names.RA configuration. So either you can go for runtime or you can go for administrator. You can use any of those things. Preferably in real time, we would be following runtime. And I mean, even if you go for administrator also, it will not be a big deal. So I am taking administrator and clicking on next. So it is going to ask you what location you want to install and all. So I am going with the default location as of now. And so this is your final screen. Once you click on install, it will take some time to complete. So anybody is having any queries meanwhile? So when you get any screen like asking to unblock about Java, just click on this unblock. Okay. So one thing is while installing Oracle client software itself, Oracle will give you the option to configure tnsnames.ora. So you can do that with the help of this tool, and this tool is named as Oracle Net Configuration Assistant, and shortly we call it as NetCA. So you can see the name over there. So this NetCA is going to help you to configure the file that we are talking about, tnsnames.ora. So you can do that during the installation itself, or you can do it later also. So what I will do is, let me skip at this moment. So I am cancelling it, so that I want to show you how to do after the installation completes. And because you cancel this NetCA, it is going to give you some warning. So no issues, click on OK button here, and when you click on next, your installation will be successful. So once you exit, so now you need to configure tnsnames.ora file, and for that what you need to do is go to command prompt and just type netca and enter. So you will be getting a similar screen what we have seen earlier, and here there will be so many options, like the first one listener configuration, then second one naming methods configuration, then third one local net service name configuration, and fourth is directory. So what we require is the third option, that is local net service name configuration. So after selecting this third option, click on next. Then you will be seeing an option called add. Click on next. Then it will ask you the service name. Service name will be always the instance name of your database. So if your instance name is ABC, then you need to provide ABC here. And you know already that you can have different name for your instance and database. So if your database name is XYZ and your instance name is ABC, here you should not give XYZ, but rather you should give ABC only. In my case, my database name and instance name are same, and the name is proddb, so I am giving that proddb here, and clicking on next. So which type of protocol you want to use, that is going to be decided in the screen. Usually we will go with TCP only, so nothing to change on the screen. And here it is going to ask you the host name or the IP address. That means on which server your database is installed. In my case, the database was installed in a server with IP address 174. So I have provided that IP address, and then we have port number specified, and whatever the port number that you are going to specify here, on the database side, listener is up and running, listener should be up and running, so listener also should be listening to the same port. So whatever the number you are giving here, you need to make sure that the same number is being used by listener also. And if you don't mention any other number, 1521 is the standard port number. So that is what I am also taking. I am not changing anything over here. Suppose if you want to use any other port number, you can click on second option and you can change some value here. But I am going as of now with the standard port number. So I am selecting the first option and next. It will ask you whether you want to perform a test or not. As of now, it is not necessary to do any testing. So just proceed with. And then here you will be having net service name. So in earlier screen, whatever we got is service name, and now we got is net service name. And this net service name need not to be necessary an instance name or database name. Even I can give my name also. So you don't require to specify the same name as your database or instance. You can give a different name over here. So this we generally call it as alias name. So alias name in the sense, the other name that we are going to have. So apart from your instance name and database name, if you want to provide some other name, you can give it over here. But usually in real time you would be seeing same as your instance name. So in my case it is ProdDB, so I am giving ProdDB only. And it is going to say, would you like to configure another net service name? By default the option is no. So click on next and finish. So you can see the messages over here. Default naming service is configured, completed, and it created the net service name by the name ProdDB, and the configuration is successful. So this is how we are going to configure it. And now how we can test it? I mean, we configured it, that is fine, but how we can test whether connectivity is happening between the application server to the database server or not. This we are going to do with the help of a command called tnsping. Usually, to check the network between two machines, you would be using the ping command. So just like that, to check the connectivity with the database, we would be using this command tnsping. So you need to say tnsping, then your instance name or the net service name. So as I said, if you have given in the last screen, if I have given Pawan, then I need to say tnsping Pawan. So if you say some other name, you need to give that name. So whatever the name that you have given in the last screen of netCA, you need to provide that name over here, and you need to say tnsping space that name. And you are going to get some output, but frankly you should not get an output. It should show you an error, but somehow we are getting OK message here. Fine. So we will see that. So here actually you will not get any, you will not get any OK message, but rather you need to get some error message. So we will work on that later point of time, but this is how you are going to configure the things. So first we installed Oracle client software, and then we configured tnsnames.rfile. So these are the two things that we need to do, and this tnsnames.rfile is going to reside under your Oracle home. In my case, Oracle home is this one. Under this there will be a folder by the name network, and under that again there will be a folder called admin, and under that this file will get created. And when you open the file, you can see how the contents will be. This is alias name, and as I said here, you can give whatever you want, like Pawan or DB, anything what you want you can give over there. Then this is going to specify an address, like which protocol you have selected and to which host you want to connect, and while connecting to that host, what is the port number you want to use. And then here it is going to specify to which instance you want to talk to. So it is going to specify all these things in tnsnames.rfile. So anyone is having questions before we proceed to the server side configuration? Yeah, usually in real time the port number will be standard only, but if you want you can change it. Any other queries from anyone? I am not showing any Java application because we are just DBA, so I am just showing how from a Windows server you need to connect, and just assume that this is a Java server. That's it. Because in real time it could be any kind of application. It may not be a Java. It can be a SAP application. It can be a .NET application. So whatever it is, the process is same ultimately. Yes, funny. You can download 11G client software. You can download it, but as you know, 10G is de-supported now, so you can't find out 10G software. And if you wish to have 10G software, I can upload it into Google Drive. But better you can practice on 11G because it's one and same. Either you do it on 10G or 11G. So any more queries? Okay. So let us go and look into the server side configuration. So as I said, on the server side what you require is database should be up and running. That is the first prerequisite. And the second one is listener should be up and running. And this will happen with the help of a file called listener.rf. So let us go and look into those things. So I am connecting to server using PuTTY. So first I am checking whether database is up and running or not. So my first SID is ProdDB. I am connecting to the database. So you can see database is open in read-write mode. That means database is up and running. So the second one you need to check is whether listener is up and running or not. And for that you are going to execute this command. So this is the command which is going to show you whether listener is up and running or not. And you can see some output over here. So there is a listener running, but that is from a different version. So whatever the database version you have is 10G. So here you can see that. But whatever the listener that is running is from a different Oracle home. So if you look at this parameter, echo$Oracle home, your Oracle home should be 10G, but your listener is running on 11G. But from TNS side, it will not worry about whether it is 10G or 11G. That is the reason when you say TNS ping ProdDB, it worked. It said OK message. So why this OK message appeared is because of this particular listener is running with the same port number. So what I will do is, let me kill that. So now you would be observing that there is no listener running. So frankly, when you try to do practice for the first time, this is what you would be observing, that nothing is running on the server. So now on the database is already up and running. The second prerequisite is listener should be up and running, and that will happen with the help of listener.aura. So we need to create listener.aura first, and for that again we need to depend on the same tool, that is Network Configuration Assistant. So I am just invoking VNC Viewer in order to do the graphical installation, because you know that PuTTY will not allow graphical installation. So from here I need to just type netca, and it will invoke a Network Configuration Assistant through which we can configure the listener. So the first option you can see is listener configuration, and because this is what we want, we need to select the first option and click on next. Then add, you are going to add a new listener, and here you need to decide the name of the listener. If you don't specify anything, the name of the listener also will be listener, but I am changing my listener name to listener_proddb. So specifying that this particular listener will listen to the database, and selecting the protocol of TCP, and using the standard port number as 1521, because here in the TNS entry I have used 1521. Here also compulsory I need to use 1521 only. And would you like to configure another listener? As of now, no. So it says listener configuration completed, and when you click on finish and come back to this PuTTY session, you would be observing that listener is up and running with the name what you want. Okay. And here also that means listener.aura file got created, and based on that file this listener is up and running. So do remember, if you want a listener to be up and running, compulsory listener.aura file should be there. If you don't have that file, it is not possible to start your listener, stop your listener, or do other kind of maintenance activities. So on the server side, the listener.aura file will be residing on this location. So $Oracle home network admin. So this is the location, and here you would be observing a file called listener.aura. And when you open that file, this is how it is going to look like. So this is the entire listener.aura content, or your particular listener_proddb content. But here we need to do some changes. So let us go and do those changes. So normally if you don't do any changes, and if you leave this as it is, what happens is Oracle usually perform two things. One is static configuration or static registration with the listener, and the second one is dynamic registration with the listener. So let me tell you the difference here. And to start the listener, or to stop the listener, or to restart the listener, anytime you are going to use these commands. lsnr_ctl status, then listener name is going to show you the status of the listener. And if you want to stop the listener, then you are going to use the command as lsnr_ctl stop. And you want to start the listener, then you would be using the command as lsnr_ctl start. So as of now I want to check the status only, so I'm just using the command lsnr_ctl status, then listener name. And when you look at here, it is going to give you to which services or to which instances it is going to listen. So when you create a listener, what happens is, if you have 10 databases on one server, and if you created a listener, this listener is going to listen to all the 10 databases. Means combined together for all the 10 databases, you are having one listener. And this we call it as dynamic registration of the databases or dynamic registration of listener. Now what is the problem? When you have one listener for 10 databases, and suppose if this listener is down, then no user can connect to any of the 10 databases. You know it already that without listener a user cannot establish a connection. So if you want users to connect to the database, then it is must that the listener should be up and running. But when you have only one listener for all the 10 databases, then what happens is if this listener is down, then automatically no user will be able to connect to any of those 10 databases, and which is a problem. So to avoid this situation, what usually Oracle suggests is to have individual listeners for individual databases. So if you have 10 databases, you need to have 10 listeners. So that is the point over there. So everybody got clear about this? Why we need to have different listeners for different databases? Why should not we have only one listener? Okay. So as I said, whenever you create a listener, it will go and do a dynamic registration. That means, as I said, how many databases are there in the server, all those databases will get connected to that listener by default. But that is not a good idea, as we discussed. So we need to go for static registration, and to do that static registration in listener.ara file, you need to do some changes. Let me show you how what are all those changes you need to do. So the first thing that you need to do is, here you have something called SID name, and this SID name you can see it is showing something like PLS ext proc. So if this SID name is pointing to this particular thing, that means it is following dynamic registration. So what you need to do is remove this entry and give your database name or instance name. So in my case, instance name is ProdDB, so I am just giving that name. And if at all Oracle home path you want to change, you can change it, but in my case there is no change. And I need to remove this third line where it says program equals to ext proc. So I need to remove this line, so I am using dd command because this is VA editor. And coming down in this particular line address, so even though host name is fine, but instead of host name, it is better to have IP address always. So that's the reason I am removing the host name and I am using IP address over there. And port number I am not changing anything because I am using the same port number in the TNS names.r also. And I need to remove this entire line which says protocol equals to IPC and key equals to ext proc 0, etc. So what I did is, first I changed the SID name, then I removed third line here, then instead of host name I appended an IP address here and I removed the second line here. So once you do all these changes, save your listener file, listener.ara file, then using these commands stop and start your listener. Because you did some changes to your listener.ara file, whenever you did some changes to the listener.ara file or the entry, you need to just stop and start your listener. So I'm just using this command lsnrctl stop. So it is down. Now I will be using lsnrctl start command. And now you can see it is listening to only ProdDB. Earlier, if I show you the output, you can see it is listening to something called PLS ext proc, or it is listening to ProdDB, it is listening to ProdDB XDB, then ProdDB XPT. So so many outputs are there. but now you can see only one output, that it is listening to ProdDB. So this is what actually we require, and this we call it as static registration. So that means this particular listener underscore ProdDB is listening to only this database. So let's say I have one more database by the name testDB. So for that, how we need to create a listener? So you can either go and create a listener, with the help of netCA once again. So you can type here netCA and you can do the activity. But apart from that, you can do it manually also. So how you would be doing it manually? Open your listener.rr file, copy this content and paste it here, and after pasting, do the necessary changes. For example, I want this listener to listen to testDB. Then I will change my listener name. I will change my database name. Assume Oracle Home is same. Then I am keeping it safe. And once again listener name. But port number should be different. So do remember, on the same machine, two listeners cannot run on same port number. They should be using two different port numbers. So if listener underscore ProdDB is configured on 1521, I can use 1522 in listener underscore testDB. So now what happens is, this particular listener, the name listener underscore testDB, is going to listen to a database by the name testDB only. So that means for ProdDB we have an independent listener, and for testDB we have another independent listener. So this is how you are going to configure multiple listeners in a server, and this you need to do when you have multiple databases in place. So any queries over here before we proceed? No, it is not one listener, it is two listeners. One listener is listener underscore ProdDB, and second one is listener underscore testDB. And both are listening to two different databases. Here, listener underscore ProdDB is listening to ProdDB, and listener underscore testDB is listening to testDB. So any more queries? Okay. So if you want to see the process of listener at OS level, you would be using the same command, ps-ef grep tns, and this is your OS level process. I didn't start a listener underscore testDB, so that's the reason you are not seeing that. I just started only listener underscore ProdDB, and for that this is the process. So is that fine? Funny? Yes, we can start the listener. And one more thing is, listener is independent of database. That means you can have listener created even without having a database. For example, in this server, I don't have any database by the name testDB. So if you look at Aura tab file, I have only one database by the name ProdDB. Frankly, testDB database itself is not there. But still, we can configure listener and we can have listener up and running also. So do remember, listener is independent service to database. That means you can have listener up and running when your database is down. You can have listener up shut down when your database is up and running. So I mean, starting or stopping of the listener doesn't have any impact on the database, or not impact, I mean any dependency on the database. So now you can see I started the second listener also, listener underscore testdb, and it is ready to listen to testdb. So whenever you create testdb, then this listener will support that database, and you can see it is listening to 1522. And now if you look at this, you can see two processes, two OS processes. One is for listener underscore prod.db and second one is listener underscore testdb. So coming to other question, yes, always the respective database is listening to the its own listener based on the port number. So here we are configuring different listeners on different port numbers, and each listener is pointing to its own database. That means each database will be listening on a different port number. So once you have that listener in place, then actually, as I said, TNS ping will work now. So earlier it should show you an error, but somehow it worked because the listener is running from 11G home. But once I corrected, this will be executing it. So that is how we have the things. I didn't get you, like Sanjay. What exactly mean by status from home location? Actually, there are two options. Okay, so admin location is the place where this file exists, and you can see listener status from any location. For example, let's say I move to U01, and from U01 also I can run this command. It is not mandatory that I need to be there in that location only. So from here also I can run this listener lsnrctl status command. Okay, any more queries? Okay, now that connectivity got established, so from this Windows machine or from this application machine, how a user would be connecting through SQL Plus. So let us go and see that, because we don't have any application. If you have an application, then you will be connecting through front end using some graphical interface. But here we don't have any application existing. So how we will be connecting through this particular SQL Plus window. So let us go and see that. So if you go to all programs, you will be seeing your Oracle client installation here, and when you go to application development, you will be seeing this SQL Plus. So I hope everybody might be aware of this, white color SQL Plus window. So here what I am doing is I am giving the username as Scott and the password is Tiger, and the host string I am giving it as prod.db. And when I say OK, the account is locked, fine. Let me unlock the account, or let me create one user. So I created one user, but still this user will not be able to connect until unless we grant connect permission or connect role. So I have given connect role. Now let us see that username is Kanna and password and host string. And now you can see it got connected, and when you type show user, it will show you as the same user whatever you created. So that means from this Windows machine you have connected to the Linux machine or to the database which is running on Linux machine. So this we call it as remote connection. So whatever you did right now is a remote connection for the database. That means from a different server you connected to the database machine. Now here let me show you one thing. So when you type ps-ef grep oracle, it is going to list down the process, and you know that even a session is also a process in the database. So you know that already, we discussed that. So when you type ps-ef grep oracle, you would be seeing two processes, two OS processes. One says local equals to S and the other says local equals to no. Now the one which says local equals to S, this connection is on the database server itself. That means on this Linux machine itself I connected to the database. So when I connected to the database by from on the server itself, then I will be a local user, or my connection will be a local connection. So that's the reason here it says local equals to S. But the other connection is from a remote server, or it is a remote connection. That's the reason here it says local equals to no. So whenever you see some process saying local equals to no, do remember those connections are from remote machines. And whenever it says local equals to S, that means somebody connected from the database server itself. So is this points clear? So anybody is having any queries? Okay. So that is how usually the connectivity between the databases is going to be established. Is it possible to know the client functionality address from the OS process ID? Okay, from the OS process ID, yes, you can able to know it. For example, in our case, it is 2010. It is the OS process. Now let me show you how we can retrieve the information from the database. So I just connected to the database, and we have a view called $process. Okay, and in this $process, we say suppose select PID, SPID, username, then let's say terminal from $process where SPID equals to 2010. So just a minute, I'm just finding out 2010. Okay. Oh, sorry. We need to actually interrelate $process, and we have another view called $session. So we need to integrate both, join both of these things. then it is going to give you the information. And here I have a script in my blog to find SID on PID. So we have script over Google and in my blog also. This is to identify the SID based on OS process ID. Now we know that OS process ID as 2010. So when I execute the script, it will ask you for SPID, that is 2010. And based on that, you can see my SID is 151, serial number is something, username is Kanna, and OS user is Pawan. Now with this SID, I can find out the information from VDollar session. So when I say describe VDollar session, it's going to give me the IP address. So let me show you the select star from VDollar session where SID equals to whatever the SID we got this with this query. Just a minute. Heading off. Use the IP address. You can get the IP address also. Okay, so probably this one. Let us try with that. And instead of active, I say maybe this package need to be installed, but usually we would be getting it. So might be somewhere some content was missing. So you can use these select queries, you can find it. Let's not waste much time on that, because as a DBA we would not be actually concentrating on these things. Anyway, but the process is same. You need to use that select query and you need to find out those things. So is that fine? Okay, so that is how we have the connectivity part, and tomorrow we will be discussing about password file first, and we will continue with the other topics. So thank you everyone for joining the call. So before we close the call, anybody is having any queries? Okay. So let us meet again tomorrow at the same time, and thank you everyone for joining the call, and have a good time till then.